Welcome, class, to your remote math lesson, and you will need your Envision Math workbook. And we are working on page 21, and it's lesson 1-5, and it looks like this. And it is about counting on and counting back to subtract. So we're learning another strategy to help us solve our fact fluency and our math problems. Okay, you will also need your number grid. Go ahead and leave it in that plastic slip and get your whiteboard marker. And you can use your whiteboard marker to write on it in the plastic slip, and then you can go ahead and erase it. Okay, so one more time, you need your workbook, and you are on page 21. We're going to read the I can statement. You need your whiteboard marker and your hundreds grid in the plastic slip. Okay, you also need a pencil. All right, let's get started with the I can statement. And I have it written for you here. You can follow along in your book. It's at the top. It's on the right-hand side of your page 21. Ready? I can count on, which means up, and count back on a number line to subtract. Okay. So let's go ahead and do the solve and share, and then I will introduce the vocabulary. I'll read the solve and share for you, and then I want you to take 2 minutes to answer it. How can counting help you find 12 minus 4? Use the number line to show your work. Okay, once again, page 21, and hopefully you are moving your post-it so you can find this page quickly. Go ahead and pause the video here and complete your solve and share. Okay, welcome back, and we are going to turn to page 22, and I am going to introduce your vocabulary words, and there's a lot of them today, and the main idea of this lesson is to subtraction. And that means to take away, to make a value less, to make it smaller, to make it fewer. Okay? And to do this, when you write it into an equation, you use the minus symbol, and it looks like this. And there's an example of a subtraction equation. 13 minus 5 equals 8 at the bottom. And the strategy you're learning is to count back, but you could also count on. Okay? And when you find the subtraction answer, the answer in a subtraction equation, it's called a difference. Okay? And you just did some work in the solve and share on a number line. Okay, so a number line looks like this, and it has every value on it, usually starting from 0 and counting up. This one's going to end at 25. The one on your hundreds, the bottom of your hundreds chart, there's 2. One ends at 21 and one ends at 12. Okay, so in the visual learning bridge, they're telling you that you count to find the difference. So you're finding the value difference between two numbers. So if you take my example from earlier, 13 minus 5, you find 13 and you're going to count back 5, and I'll show you how that looks. So 13 is where you start, so you don't count that one. You go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then that is your value that you land on, which is 8. So the difference between 13 and 5 is 8. Okay, and that's how it's written as an equation. Right, so you can practice that too using your number line, and the example they give you is that they want you to count up to solve 10 minus 4. So when you count up to solve 10 minus 4, you start at the 4 and you count up until you get to 10, and you count how many jumps. The difference between 10 minus 4. Okay, so let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the difference between the two numbers is 6. Okay, because that is the distance between them on the number line. Okay, so that is how you count up. If you want to count back to solve the same problem, you can count back. 10 minus 4 equals. So you would find the 10th and you would count back 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you come up with the same answer. 10 minus 4 equals 6. Okay, so those are two ways you can solve subtraction fact fluency problems. Okay, one way is to count on, which means to count count up, and another way is to count back. So there's two ways. So one more time, when you count on, to find an answer, you start at 4 and you count up until you get to 6. 4, 5, 6, until you get to 10. 7, 8, 9, 10. Now if you were in the classroom, I know somebody would have caught that mistake and set me straight right away. Sometimes I say the wrong things, and usually children catch it. So we have our number line, and this is counting up. And then we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's the jumps we made up to get to 10. And this is counting on, or you might also know it as counting up. You should know both. And both are the same. Counting on is like counting up the number line. Okay, so that's one example again. And just to recap, we're going to do the other one, counting back. And if we have the same problem, 10 minus 4, we would do a decreasing number line, and we would start at 10, and we would count back 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's our answer. So the one you choose to do, whether it's counting up or counting back, depends on you. You can choose. You should know which one both is, but the strategy that works better for you to solve the problem is the one that you should be using, because that'll make you quicker in solving those fact fluency problems, and it'll make it you more efficient at solving them and quicker. So counting back to subtract or counting on to subtract. Okay, which means counting up to subtract. And that is today's lesson, counting on to subtract and counting back to subtract. Okay, so use your number line and go ahead and finish the workbook pages until you get to page 24, and the same thing goes. Right here, I want you to take a picture of the assessment practice 11 and upload a photo of your work in this lesson in Seesaw. Thank you so much, and have a good rest of your math time.